and be seated. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you all. Please be seated. Thank you for the warm welcome. Archabbot Douglas, Your Excellency, Jim and Mary Toohey, members of the faculty, members of the clergy, moms and dads, and most important, the class of 2007, thanks for inviting me. I am honored to be here. Laura and I feel like we have a very special connection to St. Vincent College through the Tooheys. We have come to know Jim and his family well during his time in Washington. After all, he was the director of the White House Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives. And now he's attained another high office. So today, before his family, his friends, and colleagues, I would like to address Jim with two words he probably never thought he would hear from me. Mr. President. I know he appreciates the importance I place on my speeches. He knows my style well. I want all of you to know I was very moved by a letter he recently sent me that invited me to this commencement. Here's what Mr. President said. Mr. President, I believe that by hearing you speak, every member of the class of 2007 will leave this campus with a priceless lesson about the importance of the English language. At least he didn't say, I'm proud to welcome to the podium a man, the first president for whom English was his second language. I did call him. I said, what my speech ought to be about. That's why I asked him, what my speech ought to be about. Jim, he said about 10 minutes, so here goes. It's a proud moment for the class of 2007. You're the largest graduating class in your school's history. You're the first class to take a mandatory course in microwaving, a requirement that was imposed after you set off a record number of fire alarms while you're trying to make popcorn. You cheered the Bearcats with the Carey Crazies. You walked through the lighted arches of Melvin Flats. Some of you are the first in your family to attend college. In a few moments, you will collect your degrees, the Ave Maria bell will ring, and you will leave this campus with a lifetime of good memories. You worked hard, and we're all here to congratulate you on a fabulous achievement. I also congratulate the many people who helped make this day possible, starting with your parents, who paid your tuition and were patient, even after the phone bills arrived. I thank the people who've worked hard to make sure you leave with a sound and solid college degree, and that's the St. Vincent's faculty. I appreciate so very much the monks of the Archabbey, the men whose prayers are surely responsible for some of the degrees being offered today. And so I ask the class of 2007 to continue to make these good people proud, to take what you've learned here into the world and always live up to the high ideals that this college stands for. At the heart of these high ideals is the name Benedict. Benedict was the saint who set down a practical guide for community life and helped save Western civilization. Benedict was the inspiration for the man who came to this country to plant these ideals in American soil and founded this college. Benedict was also the inspiration for the Pope, who took his name in tribute to the Benedictine ideals of charity and community that he believes the world needs now more than ever. These ideals of charity and community have a special resonance for Americans. From the beginning, America has offered the world a new model for strong community life. In the early 19th century, a Frenchman named Alex de Tocqueville visited the United States. He was impressed by the way Americans came together in voluntary associations to help out a neighbor in need. And in his book, Democracy in America, he wrote something that captured the spirit of this great country. He said, when an American asks for the cooperation of his fellow citizens, it is seldom refused. If some great and sudden calamity befalls a family, the purses of 1,000 strangers are at once willingly opened. De Tocqueville saw the good heart of America back in the early 19th century. We continue to see the good heart of America in the early 21st century. We see it in citizens who responded to the worst atrocity on our soil with acts of selflessness and compassion. We see it in the historic new commitments our nation has made to alleviate poverty and suffering by feeding the hungry and fighting malaria and working to end the scourge of HIV/AIDS on the continent of Africa. We see it in the volunteers who serve in our faith-based and community organizations. Good and decent folks who are living the commandment to love our neighbors as ourselves. Today, more than 61 million Americans volunteer their time to serve others. More than 3/4 of adults give to charity. The volunteer spirit of America makes us unique. It represents the true strength of our nation, and it must constantly be reinvigorated and renewed. And that's why it's vital for our country that our young people step forward and serve a cause larger than yourselves. When you serve your fellow citizens, you find benefits you'll never imagine. You discover that a caring person is sometimes all it takes for someone to turn their lives around. You see for yourself that kindness and respect make an enormous difference in a person's life. You learn to take the initiative instead of waiting for a government to step in. You become more aware of others, a better man or woman to your friends and families, a better citizen of your country. You start to put your own difficulties in perspective, and soon you learn a great truth, that you always get more out of service than you give. Your generation's willingness to serve will define the character of our nation. And us older folks have good reason to be confident. Americans now in college are more likely to volunteer or become engaged in civic life than previous generations. Here at St. Vincent College, you have learned that service outside the classroom is as important as what you learn inside the classroom. The challenge for you is to keep this up as you begin your new careers and your new families and your new lives. So today I ask you to make service more than a line on your resume. Find a need that is not being met. Do your part to fill it. Make a difference to our country. I'm pleased to see that the class of 2007 is answering the call. In the graduating class today are 5 students who have volunteered to wear our nation's uniform. You knew the risks of serving in a time of war, and you have volunteered to accept those risks. You have chosen a noble calling. You will take your place as officers in the finest military the world has ever known. At some point, the lives of other men and women will be in your hands. And they will need leaders of character and selflessness. As your Commander-in-Chief, I salute you for your service, and I ask Almighty God to keep you close as you keep our nation safe. There are many ways to serve our nation. Across this great land of opportunity, we have citizens with great needs. And for every need, there is a path to service. Some of you have chosen the path of teaching. We all know a teacher has made a difference in our lives. In our case, I married her. First Lady showed me that teaching is more than a job or profession. It is a vocation. When you make the decision to become a teacher, you know that your reward will be greater than money. It will happen in wonderful moments when you see a student grasp a difficult concept, or come alive during the reading of a poem, or discover how a work of history speaks to our time. To do this even for one child is special. To do this for hundreds of children over a career will bring you satisfaction that few other professions can match. The beauty of teaching is that its rewards can be found in any classroom. Some of you know this from your visits to St. Benedict's, an all-boys school in one of the poorest areas of New Jersey. For many of these boys, St. Benedict's is their only safe haven from crime and drugs and hopelessness around them. Each Christmas holiday, several St. Vincent students spend time mentoring these young men. One of your classmates, Anthony Fumara, spent 2 breaks at St. Benedict's. Here's how he describes the experience. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher, but my time at St. Ben's showed me that a teacher could become more than a dispenser of knowledge. When I talk with the students about their dreams of attending college, I realized that as a teacher, I would be the one that would help them achieve their dreams. Our nation needs more teachers like Anthony. I'm so pleased that nearly 4 dozen members of this class have chosen to go into teaching. I thank you. And as you go forth, I ask you to set high standards in your classroom. Challenge the soft bigotry of low expectations. Teach your students with respect. And always remember the ideals that attracted you to this noble profession. Some of you may not have yet decided the best way to serve. It's okay. Government can't put love in your heart. But what we can do is when you find love and find the drive, we can help put it in action. And that's why I created the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives that Mr. President ran. Through this office, we are helping to ensure that federal funds for social service go to organizations that get results, even if they happen to have a crucifix or a Star of David on the wall. We also established the USA Freedom Corps to help mobilize volunteers to bring the comfort and kindness of America to people both at home and abroad. Today, hundreds of thousands of volunteers mentor children. They assist the elderly. They build schools and clinics. They respond to natural disasters. So no matter what your interests, no matter what your skills, there is a place for every one of you to serve in our nation's armies of compassion. Even if you can't devote yourself to a career service, you can make a life of service. We had that on good authority from one of President Tui's great heroes, Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa's whole life was dedicated to doing small things with great love. I'm pleased that Jim has taken a group of you to Calcutta later this month. I hope it helps inspire a new generation to carry on her good works. In almost every documentary about Mother Teresa, you see her going to the side of someone who is suffering terribly, often about to die. She treats them with great gentleness, squeezing their hands and whispering words of comfort. Their look of wonder tells you that these are people who may be feeling love for the first time in their lives. As they look up at Mother Teresa, their eyes say, "You're someone who cares." One of your classmates, Kara Shirley, knows what I'm talking about. Just 2 months ago, Kara went on a service project to Brazil where she visited an AIDS clinic. The clinic was called Hope and Life. While there, she and the other students helped clean up after the patients, and administer their medicine, and just sit by their bedsides, holding their hands. One of these patients was a man who weighed just about 70 pounds. When he was sent to this clinic, he had already been given his death certificate. But that only told the people at the clinic that this man needed even more love. Here's how Kara puts it. This man was so weak he could not even speak. But when I held his hand, he turned his head, and you could feel the gratitude. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life, and by the end of my time there, I didn't want to leave. Kara's gesture seemed like a small thing to hold a man's hand, but because it was done with great love, it helped fill a dying man's final days with dignity and grace. I've met thousands of volunteers like Kara who serve their fellow citizens in many different ways. They put themselves in some of the harshest places in our country and in the world. Yet instead of telling me how hard they have it, they always tell me how fortunate they are. You can know this joy in your own lives. All you need is a warm heart and a willing pair of hands. When Mother Teresa accepted her Nobel Prize, she told a story about visiting a nursing home. At first, she was impressed by the home because it was attractive and well-equipped. But she soon noticed that none of the residents were smiling. All were looking at the door. When she asked why everyone seemed so sad, one of the caretakers explained, "They are hurt because they are forgotten." They stared at the door in the hope that it would open and someone who loved them would walk through it. My challenge to you today is this: be the person who walks through that door. Be the face that brings a smile to the hurt and forgotten. Lead lives of purpose and character. Make a difference in someone else's life. And if you do, you will lead richer lives. You will build a more hopeful nation, and you'll never be disappointed. My congratulations to you all. I ask for the Almighty God's blessings on you and your life. Thanks for letting me come and share my thoughts.
So now we welcome you back to address the class of 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. President, President Shai, thank you for that kind introduction. Governor Sanford, Senator Graham, Congressman Ingalls, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, members of the Furman community, parents, and most important, the class of 2008, thank you for this kind invitation to be with you. I congratulate the parents here who have sacrificed to make this day possible. When your child graduates from college, it is a glorious day for your family and a pretty good day for your bank account. I know the graduates will join me in thanking you for your love and support. And I thank the members of the Furman faculty. I appreciate your devoting your career to improving the lives of young people. I know this is an institution where folks are encouraged to make their voices heard. I, too, am a strong believer in free speech, and to prove it, I'm about to give you one. For 4 years, this campus has been your life. You've studied hard, and I suspect some of you may have played hard. Along the way, some of you may wonder whether this day would ever come. Well, it's finally here, and Laura and I send our heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2008. I'm glad to be joined with my friend and outstanding leader of South Carolina, Governor Mark Sanford, class of 1983. Governor, I'm not going to ask if you ever got caught swimming in the fountains. As the President said 25 years ago, the Governor sat where you now sit as a member of the graduating class. As it happens, as he mentioned, the commencement speaker that day was my dad. Now that means some at Furman will have heard graduation speeches from 2 generations of Bushes. It's a great step forward for the Bush family, a great step backward for your English department. And as the President mentioned, I have other family ties with Furman. In the early 1930s, a student named Willa Martin graduated from the women's college that was soon to become part of Furman. She went on to marry my mother's father. She also spent time as a columnist for the Associated Press, thus beginning the long history of warm relations between the Bush family and the media. My administration also has another Furman connection. One of the first people I see almost every morning is a Furman grad and my Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Mike McConnell, class of 1966. I asked Mike if he ever took part in the Midnight Serenade. He said, I'd like to tell you, but the information is classified. It's a special time of your life. You're going to find it's a time when you get a lot of free advice. Some of it helpful, some of it not. Got one graduation speaker who urged the students to keep their ears to the ground, their shoulders to the wheel, and their noses to the grindstone. All I could think was that's a hell of a position to be in. I also remember what it was like to graduate from college and look out at the world before me. At the time, I must confess, the last thing on my mind was how to be a model citizen. Just ask my mother. Yet I found, as you will, the world has a way of helping you to grow. Soon many of you will be earning a living and getting married and raising families. As you move ahead in life, you'll find temptations and distractions that can take you off course. You might also find that years may pass before you learn some important truths. That who you are is more important than what you have. And that you have responsibilities to your fellow citizens, your country, your family, and yourself. In my first speech as the governor of Texas, I talked about the importance of a responsibility society. My last commencement address as president, this seems a fitting subject to return to. I'm heartened today to see that our country is seeing a resurgence of personal responsibility. I'm pleased that this resurgence is being led by many young people who are embracing bedrock values of faith and family. These are values on which Furman and many other great universities were founded. And as you leave this campus today, my call to you is this: strengthen this rising culture of responsibility in America by serving others, contributing to our civic life, and being accountable to yourself and your families. A culture of responsibility does mean serving others. The toil of generations and the grace of an Almighty, our nation has been given a lot. And more Americans are recognizing our obligations to help those who have little. The most uplifting trends in our country is that volunteerism is at near all-time highs. And we see this spirit here at Furman. I was impressed when I heard that nearly 2/3 of you balanced your studies this year with outreach to your community. You help children with disabilities realize they have a place in our communities and in our hearts. You helped Habitat for Humanity give people a home of their own. Through such works of compassion, you've learned early in life that nothing is more fulfilling than putting the needs of others ahead of your own and I thank you for what you've done for this community and for our country. I saw a spirit of service in Greensburg, Kansas, which was destroyed by a tornado last year. In the aftermath, a Greenburg resident simply said, "My town is gone." And it was. But after the storm receded, a wave of compassion arrived. First, family members rushed in with aid. Then folks came from nearby towns doing their duties to help their neighbors in need. And soon citizens across our country rallied to help the people of Greensburg. I recently went to Greensburg High School to deliver their commencement address, and I'm pleased to report to you the town of Greensburg is recovering, and the spirit of determination and compassion is alive and well in America's heartland. I've seen the spirit of service in good Americans who work to heal troubled communities across our country. Much of this good work is carried out by community and faith-based groups who lift up struggling souls one at a time. They serve in soup kitchens and help former prisoners rejoin society, inspire young people in inner-city classrooms, ensuring they have the skills they need to live lives of hope and opportunity. I've seen the spirit of service in Americans who are changing lives on the continent of Africa. Our citizens are teaching children in Ghana, helping villagers fight malaria and HIV/AIDS in Tanzania, helping war-ravaged people recover and rebuild in Liberia. These citizens are showing the world the true face of our country, a kind and generous nation that is meeting its responsibilities to help the poor and the sick and the hungry. I've seen the spirit of service in those who proudly wear the uniform. America is blessed to have citizens who volunteer in times of danger, and that includes some of you here today. You will leave Furman with more than a degree. You'll leave this fine university with more than a degree. You will also receive your commission as an officer in the United States military. I thank you for making the noble decision to serve. Your country's proud of you, and so is your Commander-in-Chief. To all of you, my call is to make service to others a way of life. Wherever you live, whatever you do, find a way to give back to your communities. And however you choose to serve, you're going to learn a great lesson, that the more you give, the more you'll benefit. Culture of responsibility means contributing to our civic life. I ask you to be citizens, not spectators, and help to build a nation of virtue and character. You can strengthen our country by participating in the democratic process. In recent years, we've seen millions of people in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, and Georgia and Ukraine risk their lives for the right to cast a ballot. These courageous people should inspire us to take our votes just as seriously. I know the democratic spirit is alive in our country because there was a big vote recently. New American Idol got about 55 million votes. Hope we see even a bigger turnout this November. For some of you, this will be your first presidential election. I ask you to get involved in the process and do your duty and vote. By the way, if you're wondering who to vote for, the governor, I'd be happy to offer a few suggestions. You can strengthen our country by showing fiscal discipline in your lives. May sound funny coming from a visitor from Washington, D.C., but it's important to your futures and to the future of our country. Many of you have debts from student loans. It's an investment that I expect you will find worthwhile. The next few years, you may find it tempting to amass more debt, particularly from credit cards, on expenses that bring little long-term benefit. My advice to you is not to dig a financial hole that you can't get out of. Live within your means. And bear in mind that there are no shortcuts to the American dream. Your Furman degree will open the door to a wide variety of career options. One of the most noble paths you can take is a career in public service. I know you probably look at the debates in Washington and the political campaigns and conclude that public service isn't worth it. That's a mistake. I've had my fair share of critics, but no criticism can overcome the satisfaction of serving your fellow citizens and pursuing great goals for our nation. If you choose a career in public service, maintain the highest ethical standards, bring honor to whatever position you hold, and always put the people you serve ahead of yourself. But public service is not just politics. It can include social work and teaching and careers in the nonprofit sector. There are countless organizations across our country that devote themselves to improving the lives of others, such as the American Red Cross or Teach for America, the Boys and Girls Clubs. These groups fulfill a noble mission, and they're a vital part of the responsibility society. Others of you will make your careers in the private sector. If you choose this path, take pride in what you do, and work hard and bring value to the enterprise you work for. And remember this, our country needs corporate responsibility as well as personal responsibility. So if you enter the business world, be honest with your shareholders, be truthful to your consumers, and give back to the communities in which you live. And all of us have a responsibility to be good stewards of the environment. Finally, a culture of responsibility means being accountable to your families and to yourself. I found family to be a source of great comfort and strength. People talk about my family, they often say I inherited my dad's eyes and my mother's mouth. But I got far more from them than that. From my dad, I learned that a gentle soul can also be strong. From my mother, I saw the blessings of humor and honesty and unqualified love. And from the two of them, I got an inspiring example of how a strong marriage can carry you through any challenge. And what has carried me through the challenges in my life have been the love and support of a wonderful woman named Laura Bush. My wish is that you find a partner in life who loves you and challenges you and comforts you and gives your life meaning. And if you have the blessings of becoming a parent, I would like for you to remember that the most important job you will ever have is to love your child with all your heart. In life, there's going to be many temptations to distract you from your responsibilities. Popular culture can give you the impression that alcohol, drugs, or promiscuity can lead to fulfillment in life. It's an illusion. I urge you to reject it. If you do fall short, know that it is never too late to recover and get back on the right track. It's a time in my life when alcohol competed for my affections, but I found salvation in my family and my faith. There is no shame in recognizing your failings or getting help if you need it. Tragedy comes when we fail to take responsibility for our weaknesses and surrender to them. Finally, you probably don't realize it, but you're role models for others in your life. Whether it's a little brother or sister who looks up to you, or someone else who admires you. Positive role models are greatly needed in this society, and I urge you to set a hopeful example by leading lives of character and integrity. And if you do, you'll be proud of who you are. You'll teach others around you that a life of responsibility leads to a life of fulfillment. In all these ways, your generation has an opportunity to show how timeless values can be applied in a modern world. And as you do so, history offers noble examples to follow, including many from right here in South Carolina. From this state came a signer of the Declaration of Independence who lost his fortune fighting for our freedom but never regretted the fight. From this state came the brave colonel who drew a line in the sand against oppressive rule at the old Spanish mission called the Alamo. From this state came the child of slaves, who was among the first black women to be an advisor to presidents. And from this state came a young man who went off to serve his country in World War II. His last name was Smith, and it happens his first name was Furman. Private Furman Smith. He never attended this school, but he grew up right down the road. While on duty in Italy, Private Smith's unit came under heavy fire. He fended off 80 enemy soldiers to defend his wounded buddies. He died at the age of 19 with his rifle still clutched in his hand. For the acts of courage and character that cost him his life, Furman Smith was awarded the Medal of Honor. 64 years ago, this very day, that young man carried the Furman name into history. And now, in a very different way, so will each of you. May the values you learned here always guide your course. May you always make the right choices. May you always look in the mirror and be proud of what you see. Congratulations. God bless you. Thank you all. Howdy. I am thrilled to be back in Aggie Land. And it's always an honor to be introduced by the President of the United States, especially when he's your dad. And how about Mom? Mom, I've been meaning to say this publicly for a long time. Thanks. Thanks for the gray hair. I congratulate the graduates of the Fighting Texas Aggie classes of 2008, the class of 2007, the class of 2006. I better stop. Let's just say that I hope there's no one left from when I spoke to the commencement in 1998. If so, I hope you're walking out of here with a PhD. I am grateful to the faculty and staff of Texas A&M for their devotion to learning and their example of scholarship. I appreciate your outstanding president, Dr. Elsa Moreno. And I am glad to be with, there you go. And I am glad to have traveled from Washington today with three fine Aggies representing Texas in the United States Congress. Congressman Chet Edwards, Joe Barton, and Jeff Heinzle. I am pleased to see so many of your families and loved ones here today. While you bled maroon, they bled a lot of green. So please join me in thanking all those whose support made it possible for you to reach this proud day. There is one person who wishes he could be here today, and that is your former President and America's Secretary of Defense, Bob Gates. Yeah, he's got an excused absence. It's not like he's over at the Dixie Chicken. He's traveling to the Middle East, consulting with our generals and showing his support for the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. When I asked Bob to be the Secretary of Defense, it was clear how much he loved Texas A&M. After all, he refused to come to Washington until after he attended the winter commencement. And I was even more impressed when he insisted on standing during the cabinet meetings, claiming he was the 12th man. One day he explained it all. He said, "Mr. President, I'm red ass." I'll say this for A&M, you got some mighty fine traditions. Back in my day, I think I would have enjoyed dunking my ring. I would have loved to have taken Laura to Midnight Yell. I especially like the traditions around Reveille. Anytime she barks during a class lecture, everyone in the room is dismissed. I wish she'd have been there for some of those press conferences. This campus is home to solemn rituals that demonstrate the strength of your bonds. In playing of silver taps to honored fallen classmates, in the reunion of students and alumni to read the roll call at muster, and in wearing of your timeless rings, you affirm a powerful truth. Once an Aggie, always an Aggie. Traditions like these are central to the A&M experience, and so is academic excellence. And all of you will benefit from your rigorous courses of study. I suspect you'll also find that some of your most important learning took place outside the classroom, in the friendships you formed, perspective you gained, and the things you discovered about yourself. When you leave this campus, you will be well prepared for any endeavor you choose. To those of you with jobs lined up, I congratulations. To those of you not exactly sure what comes next, I know how you feel. As our days in the White House wind down, we're going through a series of lasts. I pardon my last Thanksgiving turkey. Laura decorated for her last Christmas in the White House. And Barney bit his last reporter. Or at least that's what we hope. This is also my last commencement address as president. And it is fitting that it takes place here in Texas, where I have been so blessed over the years. I was raised here by wonderful parents, surrounded by brothers and sisters whose love still sustains me. In Texas is where I went to a backyard barbecue and met a beautiful teacher named Laura Welch. Texas is where our girls were born and our lifelong friends live. And next month, when our time in Washington is done, Texas is where we're coming home. These days I'm asked a lot about my time as president. Some days have been happy, some days not so happy, every day joyous. It's been a tremendous privilege. I have traveled across our nation and to 74 countries around the world. I have slept in Buckingham Palace. I have feasted in the desert of Abu Dhabi. I've watched the sunrise in Jerusalem. I have spoken to campaign rallies in packed stadiums and to hundreds of thousands in Romania's Revolution Square. I've taken Marine One into America's biggest cities and visited many of our smallest towns. Through it all, nothing has inspired me more than the character of the American people. The acts of courage and service that sustain our free society and make this the greatest nation on earth. Courage and service are cherished here at A&M. And they are values that I hope will guide you for the years to come. So this morning I thought I would share a few of the most powerful examples of courage and service that I have witnessed over the past 8 years. No act of courage or service is more impressive than volunteering for the United States military. 8 years ago, a brave 17-year-old named Kristen Baggy made that noble choice when he stepped forward to join the Oregon National Guard. In 2005, Christian's unit was on patrol in Iraq when his Humvee hit a roadside bomb. He lost both his legs, and he thought he would lose his life. But with determination and superb medical care, this good man survived. I met him at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas. He told me he used to be a runner and he planned to run again. I was impressed by his courage, but it was hard to imagine a man with such severe injuries ever being able to run. I said to him offhandedly, you know, when you're ready to run, just call me. I'll be glad to run with you, and moved on. Well, then one day a phone call came to the Oval Office. It was Christian. He said, I'm ready to take you up on your offer, Mr. President. Just 5 months after I'd seen him in the hospital, he showed up at the White House with legs made of carbon fiber and a spirit stronger than steel. Together we took a lap around the South Lawn. I'll admit he left his commander-in-chief in the dust, and he left me with great admiration for his unshakable determination, his upbeat spirit, and his inspiring example for all Americans. People like Christian show the true strength of our military, and so do the families who support them. Last year in Reno, Nevada, I met an orthopedic surgeon named Bill Krisoff. His son, Nathan, a Marine, had given his life in Iraq. Dr. Krisoff told me he wanted to join the Navy Medical Corps in Nathan's honor. I looked at this remarkable man. I said, how old are you? He said he was 60 years old. He needed a special waiver to qualify for the Navy. And I was thinking I was 61, so he didn't sound all that old. I asked his wife what she thought of the whole thing, and she said she supported his decision. So I went back to Washington, and surprisingly enough, a few days later, the waiver came through. Since then, Dr. Krisoff has undergone extensive training in battlefield medicine, and soon he will deploy to Iraq, where he'll help save the wounded, uphold the legacy of his fallen son, and inspire the United States of America. Petty Officer Greg Guillory is also in the Navy, but that is not the only way he serves. Greg lost his mother in a car accident at a young age, and his stepmother suffered from a serious drug addiction. Greg earned a 4-year scholarship to play college football. He was a high school player here in the state of Texas. But he turned down that scholarship so he could stay home to help his family confront its problems. Eventually, he decided to join the Navy, where he found a strong and supportive environment. While stationed in San Diego, Greg met his wife, Shonda, who had also endured a painful childhood. Together, they resolved to help children trapped in difficult circumstances and made the selfless and compassionate decision to become foster parents. They spent a year caring for a 17-year-old who had been abused. Then they took in a 14-year-old who had been beaten. Then a baby born with drugs in her system. And then a 3-year-old whose mother was in jail. Today they are caring for 2 children, a brother and sister, as well as the baby girl Shonda delivered last month. And all the while, Greg has been carrying out his duties in uniform. He's stationed at Camp David, Maryland. And this generous man who has given so much to others feels so grateful himself. During a moving testimony at the Camp David Chapel that I was fortunate enough to witness this past Thanksgiving, he said, I am thankful that God continues to bless me so I can be a blessing for children in need. America is blessed to have citizens like Greg and Shonda, whose hearts are big enough to share the greatest gift of all, the gift of love. Kendrick Kennedy shared that gift too after Hurricane Katrina struck his hometown of Biloxi, Mississippi. Even though his own house had been damaged, Kendrick put others first, helping family members find shelter and cleaning up debris in neighbors' yards. There's another piece of the story. Kendrick is blind. A few years before the storm, he lost his sight and his job. But he refused to let that hold him back. He enrolled at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. I met him there when I spoke at his commencement. He went on to the University of Southern Mississippi, where he became the first blind student to graduate summa cum laude. Now he's in law school in Ole Miss. And this good man has set a high goal to serve our country as a justice on the Supreme Court. Other Americans show courage by summoning the hidden strength to overcome their weaknesses. 4 years ago, I met Letitia Chavez Paulette. She had been addicted to drugs. She served time for her mistakes. While in prison, she joined a faith-based program called Celebrate Recovery, and they helped turn her life around. When she was released, Letitia was determined to support other women returning to society. So she started a transitional home called A Peaceful Habitation, a name taken from the book of Isaiah. Here's what Letitia said: God's grace has kept me going. His love has kept me strong. And my faith is a gift that is helping me help others. In these stories, we see the courage and service that defined America at its best. And that same spirit has long defined Texas A&M. It's the spirit of General Earl Rudder, who helped lead the D-Day invasion and served more than a decade as A&M's president. It is the spirit of the Corps Cadet, which includes nearly 1,800 Aggies. It is the spirit of your ROTC program, which routinely commissions more officers than any school outside the service academies. It's the spirit of the 21 Aggies who've given their lives to keep America safe since September the 11th, 2001. A sacrifice that will be honored forever by your Freedom from Terrorism Memorial. That same spirit is visible on this campus in many ways beyond the military. A&M is home to the big event, the largest student-run community service project in the nation. After Hurricane Ike hit the Texas coast, you welcomed more than 1,600 Sea Aggies from A&M's Galveston campus to College Station. And in countless other acts of volunteerism and charity, you have made Texas A&M's name synonymous with service. On your last day as A&M students, my call to you is to continue this spirit long after you leave the campus. There are so many needs to be met and so many ways you can help, from mentoring a child to becoming a teacher to volunteering to feed the hungry or heal the sick overseas. If you hear the call to service in the military or government, answer it. If you enter the private sector, be proud of contributing to our prosperity and give back to your communities. Wherever life leads you, pursue the path of service, and you will find fulfillment beyond measure. As you embark on this journey, let me leave you with a few last pieces of advice. First, listen to your mother. As you can see, Mom is out of the hospital and everything is back to normal. After all, she's still telling me what to do. Second, develop a set of principles to live by, convictions and ideals to guide your course. There will be times when people tell you a different way is more accepted or popular. Remember that popularity is as fleeting as the Texas wind. Character and conscience are as sturdy as the oaks on this campus. If you go home at night, look in the mirror and be satisfied that you have done what is right, you will pass the only test that matters. And finally, be on the lookout for role models, people whose conduct you admire and whose path you can follow. With that in mind, I have one last example of courage and service. It's the story of a young man who left comfort behind to answer his nation's call, became the youngest pilot in the Navy, and nearly gave his life in World War II. When he came back home, he devoted his career to public service and proved that success in politics can be accomplished with decency and grace. He reached the pinnacle in government, but he defines his life by other roles. A father who gave unconditional love, a grandfather devoted to his grandchildren, and a beloved husband of the sweetheart he married a lifetime ago. Some of you will leave A&M with a degree that carries this good man's name, George Bush. I have been blessed and honored to have carried it for 62 years. I want to thank you for the opportunity to share this special day with you. I congratulate you. When I leave office next month, I will depart confident in the future of our country because I have faith in each of you. I will depart uplifted by the many acts of courage and service that I have witnessed these past 8 years. I will depart grateful for the outpouring of support and prayers that have strengthened Laura and me. And I will depart ready to come home to the people I have missed and the place I love, the state of Texas. And so, after all this, there is only one thing left to say. Giga-Maggies. Congratulations, and may God bless you.